Jan Kukuzeli. Jan Kukuzeli was a medieval Orthodox Christian composer, singer and reformer of Orthodox Church music. Early life. Koukouzelis was born in Durazzo, at the time part of the Angevin Kingdom of Albania in the late 13th century, to an Albanian father and a Bulgarian mother. He was orphaned in childhood. According to some sources, he was born in Dzerminci, near Dbar, which is presently uninhabited. Koukouzelis' last name is allegedly derived from the Greek word for broad beans and a Slavic word for cabbage. Most scholars, including David Marshall Lang, state that his mother was simply of Bulgarian origin, while Robert L.T. generalizes her as being of Macedonian Slav descent. However, according to Raymond Detres, despite that his mother may have been a Bulgarian, her Slavic origin is obscure. At a young age, he was noted and accepted into the school at the imperial court at Constantinople. His contribution as a master of Celtic art. Koukouzelis received his education at the Constantinople court vocal school and established himself as one of the leading authorities in his field. During the time, a favorite of the Byzantine emperor and a principal choir chanter, he moved to Mount Athos and led a monastic way of life in the Great Lavra. Because of his singing abilities, he was called angel-voiced. Koukouzelis established a new melodious style of singing out of the sticherarion. Some years after the fall of Constantinople, Manuel Chrysophas characterized the sticheron, callophonicon and the anagrammatismos as new genres of Celtic art which were once created by Jan Kukuzeli. Despite his innovations, Manuel assured that Jan Kukuzeli never contradicted the traditional method of the old sticherarion, not even in his anagrammatismoi. But, oh my friend, do not think that the manner of the whole musical art and its practice is so simple and uniform that the composer of a calophonic sticheron with appropriate theses who does not adhere to the manner of old sticheron can think that he has done well and that which he has written quite good and free from every condemnation, since, if what he has composed does not include the method of the old sticheron, it is not correct. Do not think, therefore, that the performance of chant is simple, but rather that it is complex and of many forms. Thus, even in the calophonic stichera, the composers of these do not depart from their original melodies but follow them accurately, step by step, and retain them. Therefore, they take over some melodies unchanged from tradition and from the music thus preserved, and they all follow the path unknotted throughout the entire composition. The second composer always follows his predecessor and his successor follows him, and, to put it simply, everyone retains the technique of the art. Jan Kukuzeli, the maester, does not alter the stichera in his anagrammatismoi, but follows them step by step, although, like composers now, he was entirely able to create his own original chants which had nothing in common with the prototype stichera. But, had he acted thus, he would neither acted correctly nor would he have thought that he had interpreted the science of composition befittingly. Therefore, he follows the path of the old stichera precisely and does not alter them at all, obeying the rules of the science. The school of John Glickis and his followers like John and Zenos Korones created the late Byzantine system of round notation, but the use of just one notation system could seduce to the conclusion that every chant genre has to be performed in the same way. Instead, a huge number of different methods had to be observed, which were part of an oral tradition, sometimes even of a particular one which depended on a certain local school. However, the notation itself is sometimes not regarded as one system of its own, since it simply continued an already existing synthesis of many different notations within the notation developed in the monastic books of the Sticherarion and the Amlogian. Jan Kukuzeli is also regarded as the creator of a new chant book which replaced the former books of the cathedral rite, the Book of the Choir, and the Book of the Lampadarios or Monophonarios, who sometimes replaced the left choir. The latter book was called Psaltikon or Kontakarion, while the new book, which combined the content of the elder books, was called Order of Services, and these manuscripts are conventionally ascribed to Jan Kukuzeli. The Constantinopolitan redaction of the Sticherarian and the Amalogian during the 14th century were often ascribed to John as well, but it was obviously neither the redaction of just one scribe, nor did the new calophonic method intend any changes which contradicted the traditional ways. Jan Kukuzeli was obviously just one among a group of very talented musicians and reformers. Nevertheless, his legendary reputation caused that he is often identified with the reform itself. This identification is a common phenomenon in many Oriental and Andalusian traditions whose orally based transmission had never been completely abandoned. The calophonic method of Jan Kukuzeli can be studied by means of a vocal exercise, Megaison, which offered 60 designations of vocal signs. Also, this didactic chant was a redaction of a similar one by John Glickis, which probably developed from a simple list of notation signs as an essential part of a treatise genre called Papadike. The exercise Megaison instead is a complex composition whose melos changes between all the echoe of the Papadike octoechos. Reception history of Kukuzelian compositions. In general, it is useful to make a distinction between compositions which can be verified as the compositions by Jan Kukuzeli, and those which are simply based on the method which he taught. Even concerning famous compositions, its authorship is often a subject of scholarly debates whose concern is not always the talent of one individual composer, like the Polyelioi of the Bulgarian woman dedicated to his mother that, according to some researchers, contains elements of traditional Bulgarian mourning songs. Greek editions of the same Polyelios are different, and especially the authorship of the kratema used in the Bulgarian edition has been a controversial issue. Concerning Stichera Caliphonica, there are numerous compositions made up in his name, but his authorship must be regarded as a certain school which had a lot of followers and imitators. Modern print editions of chant books have only a very few compositions which are almost never sung, except the short Sunday Canonicon, for the very practical reason that most of Jan Kukuzeli's compositions, at least based on the exegetic transcriptions by Koukouzelis Chartophilakos, are simply too long. Sainthood and legacy. Koukouzelis is regarded as the most influential figure in the music of his period. He was later recognized as a saint by the Eastern Orthodox Church, his feast day being on the 1st of October. He is known as Jan Kukuzeli. A musical school in his native Durrës bears his name. Koukouzelis Cove in Livingston Island in the South Shetland Islands, Antarctica is named after Koukouzelis, using the Slavic form of his name.